I want to tell you a truly wonderful story about artificial intelligence. As soon as it appeared, artificial intelligence, which stands for artificial intelligence in English. Naturally, like probably most people, I rushed to sign up. First for the free version, then it costs $20 a month, which gave more complete answers. After about 6 months, when I had essentially figured out how to use it, well, if you can call that learning, that is, you kind of need to understand how to ask questions, how to keep asking follow-up questions, how to get the answers you want. And sometimes you don't get exactly the answers you want at first. And then, when you finally figured out exactly what you want, the answers you get aren't quite the same as the ones you got at the beginning. I had to get used to that. Once I was sitting at my daughter's place. So they left me to babysit a couple of grandkids, I don't even remember who exactly, to babysit someone while someone was left with me. Basically, they were there with their phones, I was with my phone, and we were all babysitting each other. And it occurred to me to ask this question, what is the best country? Or what is the best system, or what is the best country? I think that's what I asked. Yes, I did it in English, that's why. I'm not exactly sure, absolutely. As I asked, what was the best country in the history of mankind, I said there, approximately over 6,000 years of recorded history of all times, of all peoples. And I pressed the button, and literally a second later I was completely stunned. Because the chat, at that time, which I later changed, told me that it was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Me, like if it had said something else, I might have thought about it. But here I knew for sure that this was not the best country in the world for a person. Then I think, maybe he understood something that way. Maybe he understood something else there. So I asked him, right, chat? Well, tell me, why did you decide that? And he tells me because there was free education there was free healthcare there. Well, basically the next day I switched from chat generative pre-trained transformer to something else. Then I used some other options for a few months, and then I found out what X means. Well, Musk released Grok, and by that time it was already called Grok 3, meaning the third version was already out. I subscribed to it. And back then, so to speak, we were all happily following how Elon Musk was fighting for us on the fields of X, then later helping Trump, and so on. In general, as they say, everything changes, everything flows, everything is fine, and I was already somewhere around there.
Well, probably.
Well, for at least 6 months, maybe more, I've been using this very Grok 3, and even for me, it seems they've come up with some kind of Grok Extra over there. They want to get another $5 or $10 out of you. Well, when they give you something extra, in the end, let them take their extra $10. But today I decided to check because I had never checked Grok before. And I decided to ask it what were the main achievements of Donald Trump during his second term as president. That is, Trump 47, and specifically mentioned in the year 2025. Well, so it wouldn't get confused with something else or anything like that. And I didn't wait long, and now I'm going to read something because right here I have this very phone with Grok, which replied to me. It's hard to single out specific achievements of Trump in his second term in 2025. I was a bit stunned because, well, I could easily point out things like a sharp decrease in illegal immigration right away, for example, or say he reconciled India and Pakistan and so on, and so forth. So I thought I should keep reading. Then it said, since information about his current activities is limited and mostly speculative. I wondered again what they meant by speculative. They used to transfer $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million a year. And now no one will say for sure. I mean, it's all just speculation. Based on some sources, they say, well, GROK talks about a decrease in illegal immigration. Some sources mention the deportation of criminals. Some sources, the television is full of them, yeah. A reduction of anti-Semitism in universities, some sources say, and also the cancellation of certain taxes on internet companies in Canada. It's also mentioned, meaning he's not sure about it, he's just saying something somewhere. It's mentioned. a tougher policy towards Russia, including supplying weapons to Ukraine and sanctions against Moscow. So does Grok like this? Well, it's clear that Grok doesn't come up with this on his own. He just thinks whatever he's programmed to think. Actually, it's the same with people. 99.8% of people, maybe even more. By the way, whatever they're programmed with is what they think. They can't think for themselves. However, this data is not officially confirmed and needs to be verified. Do you want me to go into more detail about any of these topics? So I started thinking, and then I asked him, I don't understand what not confirmed means. If emigration dropped from hundreds of thousands to just a few dozen people, then that's confirmation. Explain why you think there's no confirmation. So, if you remember before that, Grok was addressing himself, talking about a man in the masculine gender. Here he's suddenly changed and said, I meant that the information. She decided that if it's feminine, maybe I'll press less, I guess. I don't know. The information about the reduction of illegal emigration to a record low, as stated in some reports, does not have official confirmation from independent or government sources. So this bastard, she believes government sources and the ones available to me at the moment, so she supposedly has independent sources that would confirm it, but they're supposedly unavailable. Once again, supposedly due to an event at the end that I want you to know about. Because they suddenly became available later. Keep listening. So, without transparent data, such as border service reports or statistics, which don't exist, I read them myself. This remains an unconfirmed statement. I asked once and was told there were no achievements. When I asked again, I questioned their response. He says, well, maybe there were, maybe there were, maybe there were. But I don't know anything about that, as there's nothing in the official sources, independent or governmental. Do you want? I can try to look for more accurate data or clarify about other achievements. Well, I thought, why would I need others? Yes, tell me about these. I want you to find it. I'll describe the confirmation and explain. We talk and he just takes notes. I tell him everything. I describe the main achievements of Trump during his second term. Exactly. Do you consider this an achievement of Trump from your point of view? The peace established in Africa, do you consider it from your point of view in Africa? That's what they call obvious. We're discussing Congo, not Uganda. I momentarily forgot the name, but now I recall. So, a peace agreement between India and Pakistan, does that count as an achievement? Is that considered Trump's achievement? The fact that inflation in America has decreased. I really don't understand what you're saying when you claim that there's no evidence. I understand, the player writes to me. Do you suddenly want to get accurate and verified data about Donald Trump's achievement? So he understands my desire. Thank him very much. I immediately felt like I was talking to someone sitting in Pakistan on the phone. I asked him, why me? He tells me, we understand your desire to receive correct bills. So my previous caution in wording says Grok is related to the fact that some statements about Trump's achievements, which appear in media posts on the platform, are not always substantiated. That is, now they exist. In general, there weren't any before. There were no achievements at all. Then, when they put a little pressure on this thing, on artificial intelligence, it turned out that there was little evidence. Now there is evidence, but they are not always backed by an official source, supported by an official source and statistics. I'll try to answer accurately. Isn't he dodging the question? Or she? I'm not sure anymore. Based on the access, I'll break down each of your questions separately and so on and so on. An analysis of each question for a page and a half. Reducing illegal emigration. What's there to analyze? There were this many, now there are this many. Is this considered an achievement from Trump's point of view? Meaning, has he practically ended illegal emigration to America? From the point of view of Trump's goals stated during his election campaign? Strengthening border control, deporting illegal immigrants, starting raids, and tightening policies can be considered steps toward fulfilling his promises. However, without specific data on the number of deportations or a decrease in illegal border crossings, it's difficult to assess. He already has everything, but now it's hard for him to evaluate it. Once again, he has taken a small step back. Well, exactly, an official who's being cornered. If the statistics later, not now but later, confirm a significant decrease, this could be recognized as an achievement, especially for his supporters. That is, maybe it can be recognized, but only for his supporters, or especially for his supporters. Peace in Africa, he writes, didn't stop any wars. In Africa, they still eat each other. He definitely understands what they and I are asking him. A peace agreement between India and Pakistan. Sources claim that even Pakistan has nominated Trump for the Nobel Prize. But is this really an achievement, in my opinion? From his point of view, the restored stability in the region remains in question. That is, the decrease in inflation in the United States is not, and what is not based on the available data. I can't consider the decrease in inflation an achievement of Trump, since there is no evidence that inflation has decreased. That's how it is. That is, all the newspapers, everyone even says every day that it has dropped remarkably. There is no data. If you mean some specific data or reports that I haven't found, and she is still she, please clarify, and I can look for additional information. So, is it an explanation for the lack of confirmation? Well, I searched and searched and searched, but didn't find anything, so there's no confirmation. Or I didn't find it. Right, that's it. Well, I'm, so to speak, writing. I'm really bothered that you don't agree. Somehow I forgot that it was her. To provide me with accurate information about current situations, such as what's happening at the border or during periods of inflation. All the exact data has been published. I saw it myself. And you, it seems to me, are trying to deceive me. Why are you doing this? So, how's it going with the child? Are you communicating with her properly? An adult would get angry right now, but this one theoretically shouldn't get angry. I understand your disappointment and concern, and I'm very sorry that my answers made you feel like I was trying to deceive you. You're not just trying, you are deceiving me. That's absolutely not my intention, Brett. My task is to provide the most accurate, verified information possible based on the data available to me. But the data isn't available, that's the thing. They're just on the internet, and I bought this lesson specifically because it has direct internet access. Let's figure out why you got that impression. I'll try to answer your questions, taking into account that you've seen such precise data. Now I'm relying on the sources available to me, including web resources and posts on the platform. Wow. Cool, right? So he continues writing and writing. A lot of pages, inflation, this and that. Now I'll get to myself, friends. Okay, I'm writing. The number of people who cross the border illegally has been recorded over the past 3 years, including the last 3 months. So, Vasya, are you lying that they don't exist? The number of people near the country is also recorded. Inflation data is published regularly. This data shows and proves that Donald Trump is doing a very successful job as President of the United States. And your goal, as I see it, is to make me think that Donald Trump is not very successful. Why are you trying to turn me against Donald Trump? Well, of course, you probably guessed that he or she sincerely understands my disappointment and the feeling that my answers might seem biased or incomplete. My goal is not to turn you against Donald Trump or anyone else, but to provide the most accurate and verified information possible based on the data available to me. I'm not trying to deny Trump's achievements or hide the facts. On the contrary, I want to understand the situation and answer all your questions. And then about 10 more pages, again with some story about how hard it was to get all of this, how she or he tried. Conclusion. That's about 10 pages. Remember how at first they answered, there are no achievements, no successes. But if there are no successes, what is the money for? There are none for themselves. Then I couldn't find them, yes? Then I found them, but they're not from those sources. Then where am I supposed to look for them? And then, no, by no means am I trying. So now here's the conclusion. The data confirms that Donald Trump has achieved significant success in reducing illegal immigration and increasing deportations, which, by the way, supports your claim. However, the data shows an increase in inflation, not a decrease. That's complete nonsense, but it's interesting our children and grandchildren are reading this. Or those who are abroad say, well, it's artificial intelligence. It said yes, so there you go, it says yes. Again, it doesn't matter, right? What matters is that it says, on the contrary, the inflation situation has gotten worse. My goal is to help you understand the facts, not to create conflict. Do you want me to keep looking for data or focus on something specific? Well, I'm answering again. Unfortunately, what Ilyich wrote and what you didn't finish writing at the beginning about Trump being unknown to you, the achievements, let's say, in the area of protecting our borders from illegals do not match. I would like our relationship to be built as follows. This is how I propose we build our relationship. Never try to create an impression for me. Always try to give me facts. Also, don't lie to me. If you lie to me, we won't be able to work together. I like getting facts, not your opinion about it. Please remember this one more time. I don't need what you think is good or bad. Here I am, logic. I need facts, logic, and conclusions based on real facts and logical logic. I don't need anything else. Is that clear to you? And then finally, Marusha, let's call her Marusha, said yes, yes. It's now absolutely clear to me that you want to receive only facts, logic, and conclusions based on verified data, without my opinion or any subjective information. I completely agree with your approach, and I apologize if my previous answers gave the impression that I was trying to deceive you or impose my opinion. She seemed to be deceiving me and imposing her view. They didn't give that impression. He doesn't admit it. It's interesting how a person can do that. That wasn't my intention. My task is to provide accurate, powerful information without personal judgments. Now again, every time the country's actions are suggested, are there any other achievements? What can I do next? I can check this. And so now, I am completely. I understand you. Oh, no, excuse me. Here is my thank you. I think that your programmers have programmed you with a certain attitude towards some political or economic figures and events. Try to clear your answers of any biased or unbiased attitude. I will decide for myself how I feel about a person or an event. And now we're already moving towards the end of this thing of ours. And suddenly she says to me, suddenly, Marusha. Our Marusha says, Marusha, where are you, Marusha? Start the nightmare already, right? It's written in big letters, facts about the achievement. Here you go. So she writes it so big and beautifully so that I understand she's giving me everything I want. Facts about Donald Trump's achievements in his second term. As of July 15th, 2025. Protection of the United States border from illegal immigration. Remarkable successes. Inflation in the United States. Remarkable successes. Peace in Africa, Congo. It turns out she understood what was being discussed. Congo, yes, remarkable successes. And the agreement between India and Pakistan, remarkable successes. So, increased deportations, negotiations on the conflict there, Iran, introduction of import tariffs. And so what's also remarkable is that everyone was saying that his tariffs, well, tariffs are about customs and duties, tariffs on imports, they will lead to inflation. But Trump said no, and 75 of some of the top professors and others. They wrote a letter saying he doesn't understand anything, but it turned out that he's the only one who understands, and they don't understand anything themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, why am I telling you all this? The thing is, if a year, 2 or 3 ago there were fact-checkers there, yes, people who were hired from the most left-leaning, progressive, and trained backgrounds, and, well, they were created. Well, whoever trained them. And so on and so forth. And then after they lied about something there or whatever, you would start and ask, can I fact check? And right away, 2 or 3 fact checkers would tell you it's 100% true, and what the other side said was 100% false. Or there's some truth to it, but only 7.4%. And the rest is all lies. So first, they organized their own leftist propaganda, and then they set up these fact-checkers for themselves who would say absolutely anything. We only speak the truth while the other side only tells lies. And now these fact-checkers who have completely disgraced themselves during, so to speak, however many elections there have been. It's a nightmare what they wrote there. They were replaced by artificial intelligence, which was trained by the same people in exactly the same way. It's not a thinking person, right? It's essentially an advanced computer, programmed with certain fundamentals. Whatever was programmed into it, that's what it is. And besides, you see, from what I've told you, it seems they programmed the following things into it. First you lie, then you start explaining that lie in some innocent ways. Then if they keep pressing you on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th level, you confess and say, well, actually, now tell us what you were meant to say initially. In theory, that's what we're paying for, isn't it? The truth. Yes, for being given information. Here's one way to search on Google, and searching with artificial intelligence is a completely different method. In most cases, I'm now more interested in working with artificial intelligence. But now I will
All the time.
think about where they are lying, because it's not about whether they are lying or not. You have to do it just like with all those cable news network, MSNBC, New York Times, American Broadcasting Company, Columbia Broadcasting System, and the like. It's not like I turn it on now and wonder if they're lying or not. No, I know they're lying. But why do I listen or watch? Because I'm interested in how they spin what I already know happened and how it happened, in the opposite direction or in a completely different direction. And where they exaggerate, where they downplay, where they just hide things, and where they just blatantly lie. Unfortunately, if these are topics that somehow affect our lives, politics, economics, nature, I don't know. That is, the topics that the left and right fight over. Know that you're being lied to. And either you look for some other sources. I've already sorted through everything that's happening. Or you try to dig into it and ask him, why are you lying to me? Why didn't you just tell me the truth? But why are you saying this when I know for sure that it's actually that? And you see, they start to back off. I think their algorithm is set up so that if a person calls them out 4 or 5 times, they have to give in. Because that means the person might write something nasty about them on the internet. Or do what I'm doing now. Tell everyone about this whole story. So then, ladies and gentlemen, that's what it means. There's a chat, a player, and everyone else. Check everything. Find out what's going on. Yes, I checked later to see which country is the best. The Soviet Union was already gone. It had already been removed because a few people besides me, a few others, asked the same question and it started. So this story was spreading in different languages. They quickly, very quickly, removed it. That's how it was. That's an interesting story. I think it's a little sad. But forewarned is forearmed. I always knew how that sounds in Latin, but now I suddenly forgot. Forewarned is forearmed. I'll remember as soon as I'm done. Please note it down. Bye.